States Director of National Intelligence, Kash Patel, along with Fox News contributor and Sirius XM Patriot host, David Webb. Gentlemen, great to see both of you. I want to start with the gender gap, since you're both dudes and Sean is one too. This is as the Wall Street Journal wrote, the defining feature, Kash, of this deadlocked race. And of course, men are siding with President Trump on this, Kash, because the Democrats have played identity politics for years and have wiped man, and masculinity off their game board. So of course they're going to side with Donald Trump.
Look, I think it's great to be with you, and I think their divisiveness continues. The Harris campaign and the radical left-wing agenda has been to label Trump supporters and independents based on their color of their skin, or if they have a plus or minus sign behind their name, or if they're male or female, or if they want men in women's sports. They've created those divisions and factions. President Trump, and I'm out here on the Team Trump bus tour in Western North Carolina, President Trump is on the ground unifying people. And what I see at every Trump Force 47 headquarters, at every campaign stop, at every rally we're doing for the president, is folks coming up, men and women, boys and girls, coming up and saying, we've never voted, we've never participated in the electoral process, but we are here in support of President Trump. What can we do? What can we do? We can sign up to train. We can sign up to register voters. We can become precinct captains. These folks are here because of President Trump's message, and they see through the divisiveness of the other side, and they see the unity of President Trump. And I think that's the biggest strength he has going forward, putting aside his brilliant agenda and policy.
Yeah, so David, to jump off that point, again, you have Donald Trump voters who actually like his policies, where he wants to take the country, and you have Kamala Harris voters who are just out there not really liking her policies, but hating Donald Trump. And in campaigns, you follow these campaigns, you always want to have a campaign that's for something as opposed to a campaign that's against something. It seems like Donald Trump has the edge if that's the makeup of this race.
Well, one of the key things here is, one, Donald Trump has a positive record to run on the economy, on a number of issues that matter to Americans, men or women. Kamala Harris has to be conflicted, if she's not lying to you, because if she is running as an underdog as the sitting vice president, that means that the current administration is a failure and she's the underdog against Donald Trump. And, you know, Dagan, I want to make a distinction here as well about women, that they're counting women as a uniform block the way they want to count black men as a uniform block. But you also have to separate out, when you look at the studies and the polling over time, women in family units who tend to vote more Republican rather than single women who the Democrats want to, you know, and frankly have more of in their camp. So I think that's going to be an interesting post-election study to see that women may have shifted, especially women in family units. But in the end, what is Kamala Harris doing in her speech earlier today? I watched her. She's trying to pretend to be a female Reagan, literally borrowing the cadence and words. If I go back, and I did, and look at President Ronald Reagan's Shining City on the Hill speech, she's trying to preempt or get ahead of what she's doing right now on our sister channel.
Well, that's today. I mean, tomorrow she could sound like she grew up in Hope, Arkansas. You just never know, because it's nobody knows who she is. She grew up in Canada, or spent most of her formative years in Canada. She never talks about that. But this is your wheelhouse, Kash, and it is foreign policy. Tony Blinken and Lloyd Austin, Defense Secretary, sent Israel a letter telling Israel to take urgent and sustained action to ensure humanitarian aid is getting into Gaza. This is just purely political. And at every turn, Harris and Biden, when Israel was winning, made sure to give Iran a leg up. And the former ambassador to Israel, David Friedman, wrote this. He retweeted this from someone else. Democrats will hurt Jews to win votes. And that's what it looks like.
I'm so glad you brought this up. We have an ally that has a legitimate interest in receiving our aid, not just money, but our munitions and our training in Israel. And Kamala Harris chose to fund the opposition. She can't even call terrorists terrorists. like we did in the Donald Trump administration. And when you have Kamala Harris printing Amex cards for illegal immigrants so they can stay at the Four Seasons instead of taking care of our allies overseas, instead of being here, boots on the ground in Western North Carolina and Florida, where the hurricane ravaged these communities, and giving them the food aid and shelter they need, they want to go out there and buy votes and divide the country and faction us off and say, if you're Black America or Brown America, we're going to promise you free this and that. I want a president who's going to vote, who's going to supply us for all of America, and especially our allies overseas, and one that's going to bring an end to the war and bring home our hostages that are being held captive in Israel by the terrorists in Iran, which Kamala Harris and Joe Biden have monumentally failed to do so. They are on a spending spree, and I think it's disgusting that they're not only withholding aid to Israel, but they are not spending the money within our borders to secure it and to safeguard our communities from the drugs pouring in and the criminals ravaging our communities with rape and murder. They don't want to say their names. Try saying Lake and Riley. It's all about Kamala the chameleon, and she'll change her color and tone at every step of the way just for political expediency. That's not what you want in a commander-in-chief, especially not national security.
And David, talking about national security, it's not like the Israel issue is a sleeper issue that we haven't really heard a lot about. It's been on the front page of all of our papers at least for over a year. But Kamala Harris, today, she actually talked to some reporters, and when she seemed to be pushed by those reporters, she didn't really have a good answer on Israel. Watch this.
Do you support the letter the administration sent Israel threatening legal action over military aid?
I've issued my statement about that.
Yeah. Are you supporting calling off military aid if the situation in Gaza does not improve?
I don't believe that's what the letter said.
David? What does that mean?
Well, you know, and I do want to draw a contrast here. If you were to ask Donald Trump that question, or J.D. Vance for that matter, or Kash Patel, you're going to get a clear answer, not refer to the letter. She doesn't have anything in that. And by the way, the major hindrances and blockages to aid going into Gaza is what's happening with the terrorists in Gaza taking it from the people. Right. Egypt was blocked off terrorists coming into their country. The failed pier that they were going to build, that the Biden administration announced and the Army Corps of Engineers tried to build, that couldn't account for all the various security issues as well as bad weather. So that's gone. What they're doing is they're trying to put the pressure on Israel when in fact Israel is doing what a nation needs to do to protect itself, and is fight for lack of a better term, a total war or a better war on multiple fronts against overwhelming numbers when it comes to odds against them, numbers of missiles, numbers of people, and they have to consider lethality and being more effective against them. And I know Kash can speak to this quite a bit more, but we need to realize that Israel is a bulkhead and a bulwark in the Middle East against that spreading more around the world while we're letting terrorists in from Afghanistan.
Right. David, we're going to jump more. Kash and David Webb, thank you both.